Well, hello there! Welcome once more to Crunchy's Kitchen. And if this is your first time stopping by, I'd like to say a very warm welcome to you. And happy Thanksgiving, or should I say belated Thanksgiving. Yes, dear friends, this is how our Thanksgiving day went. Very different, but yet the same, a beautiful day. Come along with me and do my prep cooking with me. So on the eve of Thanksgiving, I started making my dessert. So right here, I am about to make my pumpkin cheesecake, one of my very favorite to make for the holidays. So I'm making a pumpkin cheesecake. That's also one of my favorites to make, especially for Thanksgiving.
Delicious. 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 Can you smell the aroma? Yeah. From Crunchy's kitchen. Yeah. Delicious. Yeah.
Anyway, I started making the cheesecake, and then I remembered that I also wanted to make bread because we had run out of bread, and I wanted to use the time, all that time I'm standing here in the kitchen cooking, to make some bread as well for my kids. So we're just going to make the dough for the bread, let it rise whilst we do other things.
Delicious. Delicious. Yeah. Delicious. 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 Yeah. Delicious. Have you been go? Tasty. Delicious.
So I'm done making the dough. I'm just shaping it, and then I'll set it aside, cover it up, and focus on finishing up with my pumpkin cheesecake. So have you tried pumpkin cheesecake before? To me, it's like just a blend between a pumpkin pie and a cheesecake. Just perfection. If you ask me, I just love it, and I always put a little bit more ginger in my batter or my mixture, more than what the actual recipes call for. Yeah, because ginger makes everything better. So it is my hope that this video is going to be a guide to somebody for the upcoming holidays, whether you want to be hosting something for Christmas, next Thanksgiving, or any other Thanksgiving, or for any other event. This hopefully is going to help you to be able to coordinate the stuff that you have to make, especially being a hostess. When I host stuff in my house, I want my guests to come in and relax and have a good time. It is nice when they offer to bring something, so I'll let them bring one or two things that they offered to bring, but for the most part, I want to do the greater part of the cooking. So here we go. Butter is done now, so I'm pouring it over my crust, and then I'm going to put it in the hot water bath, just like my cheesecake recipe, regular cheesecake, which is here. I'll link it up for you. And then this goes in the oven to bake. So whilst that bake, I'm just going to make bread, and like I said, this is just for us. So for my kids, I have no bread at home, no waffles, so I want to make sure that when they wake up in the morning, there's bread, so they're not going to be bugging me when I'm busy doing other things. And yes, if you haven't tried my sugar bread recipe, I don't know what else you want to do anyway. Like, it is good. So please check it out and try. And I'm hoping to bring you an updated recipe shortly.
Delicious, yeah. Delicious, delicious, yeah. Delicious, 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 yeah. Can you smell the aroma? Yeah. From Crunchy's kitchen. Yeah.
So I'm also going to be making cornbread, and the recipe calls for buttermilk, which I'm going to be making at home. So for buttermilk recipe, you need a cup of milk. Take out a tablespoon of that milk and then replace the tablespoon you took with 1 tablespoon of lemon juice or white vinegar or distilled vinegar. So I'm making 2 cups. So I took out 2 tablespoons of milk and I've replaced it with 2 tablespoons of the distilled vinegar. What I did different with this cornbread recipe from the previous one, or the one that I have here for you, is that I added some corn kernels in it. I wanted a little bit of texture in this, and I also added some heat. So I added 2 sliced jalapenos as well. This turned out so good, so good. So I've made my butter, but I'm already baking the cheesecake, and I don't want to put it together because the cheesecake is almost done at this point. So I'm just doing my dishes whilst I wait. So this year, friends, I decided to step up my turkey game by brining my turkey. This I brined for just a little over 24 hours. And then, so I'm bringing it out of the water now to let it drip dry a little bit before I season it. Boy, this was good. We'll talk more about this later on. So anyway, our cheesecake is done now. Our pumpkin cheesecake, okay? Pumpkin cheesecake is baked now. So I had a little bit more of the butter, and I have this cute cheesecake dish. So I have a bunch of them, and I used one of them to fill up this to get a little extra one. Yes, and it's beautifully baked. The little one is cracked a little, but perfect. And here is my skillet. I have just melted a little bit of butter in there, and I'm going to pour my cornbread batter here, and that is going to go in the oven to bake. I just want a little bit of crispiness, you know, the edges. So I'm using a cast iron skillet today instead of like a baking dish, a glass dish. And either way, it's going to be perfect. I'm preparing the marinade for my meats. The turkey I washed before I brined it. The lamb, I've already washed it, and both of them, I've wiped dry the turkey, and the lamb is sitting on a rack to drain off all excess moisture of it. And the marinade for the lamb is just almost the same. This is a leg of lamb, boneless leg of lamb, but it's the same seasoning that I used to do my rack of lamb that I'm using to do this. So if you haven't seen that, you can check that out. Very flavorful, like perfect marinade. That lamb, whichever way, rack, leg, once you use those ingredients on your lamb, trust me, you're just going to be amazed by the flavors. Delicious, yeah, delicious. Everything go, tasty, delicious. Delicious, yeah, delicious, da-da, delicious, yeah, delicious, da-da-da, delicious, delicious, da-da, delicious, yeah, delicious. Can you smell the aroma, yeah. The lamb, when I purchased, came in this mesh, and I'm going to leave the meat in there. This is the bone, so it has no bone. The leg bone is not in the meat. It is completely boneless, and I feel like leaving the bag on it or the mesh on it is going to help keep its form. You could alternatively take it off, probably not even tie it, and it's still gonna be okay, but I felt at this point that I would leave it on. So I'm just marinating it first with some salt. It has a little pocket, so you see me tucking in there. I'm trying to apply as much of the salt into the middle part as possible. And now my herbs and garlic that I just prepared, I'm just going to go ahead and have it on my meat.
From what she was kitchen, yeah. Delicious, yeah. Delicious, delicious, yeah. Delicious, 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 yeah.
I'm going to cover my meat, and this goes in the fridge overnight until the next morning when I get it out to cook it. So I'm going to make the marinade now for the turkey as well. Everything here is the same as the turkey recipe that I shared with you last year, and I hope to bring you an updated one since I brined it this time for next Thanksgiving. But hopefully you can watch this and have a fair idea of this so you can make it. I know most people have turkey for Christmas as well, so I hope this is helpful to you.
Tasty.
So the difference between this year's turkey and every other turkey that I've made is that I only marinated this overnight. Mostly I do like 3 days, you know, at least 2 days I would want my turkey to be marinated. But if you think about it, I brined it, and in the brine I did not have just salt. I had every herb that would have gone into the marinade, the poultry seasoning, you know, the fresh herbs, everything was in there. The only thing that of course I didn't have in my brine was butter. So the turkey, the whole time it sat in the brine, absorbed the flavors as well from all those herbs. And now it's ready to go in the fridge. Of course I want to wrap it. You're trying to trap some of the smells, you know, not to mingle with everything in your fridge. So I like to use the press and seal, press it down so it's tight. And now our cornbread is done. It took a little bit longer than regular because I used the cast iron skillet, and really that was my first time baking the cornbread in a skillet, but it turned out good. And since it's out of the oven and our bread has risen enough, I'm going to go ahead and bake that, and then we can call it a night. It is super late. You don't even want to know what time it is, but I wanted to do this so I can wake up late in the morning and hopefully be on time. So I'm super tired at this point. I'm not even going to dig into this bread. All I care is to have it out and cool off so in the morning it's going to be ready. So it's covered, but before I go upstairs to call it a night, let me run the dishwasher so I have clean utensils to use in the morning. So it's another day. We are back at it. It's almost 9:30. I woke up super late. Of course, I went to bed super late as well. And I'm going to make breakfast for all of us, and then we will start our day. So we'll be having a very simple, no-fuss breakfast, typical Ghana style, just an omelette. For us, the kids, they just love their eggs fried plain, and they're going to have some hot chocolate or Ovaltine, and we will have some coffee, simple. Of course, we have a very busy day ahead of us, so we cannot be fancy at all. So anything quick and easy so we can get on and moving. So what I didn't tell you in the beginning is this Thanksgiving, we had planned, of course, to have Thanksgiving dinner in my house. And then on Tuesday night, so like less than 2 days before Thanksgiving, we just decided to call it off because some of the kids, like every family, at least had one child that was not feeling well, and then so we didn't want to end up all of us getting together, even though we were going to be in my backyard. So of course we're trying to abide by the CDC regulations, but we just decided to call it off. But we'll still cook. Everybody was going to cook whatever they are supposed to bring, and then portion it out, bring it to my house still as the central point, and then one person from each household will just pick it up, so we have individual meals at home with our families. And so that is what we did, and I had said 4 o'clock would be the pickup time, so I really have to hurry up and get this going.
Delicious, yeah, delicious, delicious, yeah, delicious, delicious, delicious. Adele. Delicious, yeah. Delicious. Can you smell the aroma?
So as you may have noticed, the turkey or my meats were the first thing that I got out of the fridge when I came downstairs. I let it sit here on the countertop, both of them, so they get a little chance to get a little bit close to room temperature as opposed to being super cold before I cook them. And I'm just stuffing my bird with some vegetables and lemon just to make it a little juicy. These help to make your meat juicy, and of course the vegetables enhance the flavor. And I'm just going to tie the legs, and our turkey will be ready to go in the oven. I always like to play a little bit of a surgeon with my turkey. So the skin that is exposed, like the skin, this part right here where I'm trying to tuck in was like a slit. So the flesh of the turkey was exposed. I just pull the skin to overlap each other, and then I push it down with some toothpicks. That way the turkey cooks beautifully. And when you take out the toothpick when it's done, it's perfect, because like I always say, that turkey is the main thing on the Thanksgiving table. So you want it to look as beautiful as you possibly can. Okay, please, 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 please. So now we are preparing the yams for the candied yam. We've peeled, sliced, washed them off, and now into the hot water it goes. And whilst it boils, I'm going to prepare the candy mix. So this is just butter, some sugar, white and brown sugar, and some spice. This is just delicious. I love it. It's just once in a year that I have this, and no matter what, regardless of the situation, whether it's being carried to people in their homes or we're doing it in my house, it is what makes me happy. So I'm even thinking more about myself than anybody at this point, what I like, and so I'm making this. Okay. So our sugar and spice mix is done, and I'm just spreading it over my potatoes that I've arranged in a baking dish. I didn't cover everything. So normally if this happens, you just tilt your bowl and use a spoon to scoop from the edge and apply to every part of the potato so it looks good. And so this has gone into the oven now, and I'm going to focus on the lamb. So I'm going to sear this before I go ahead and roast or bake it. So just a little bit of olive oil in my pan, hot, and I've placed my meat, and like I said, I'm cooking it with the mesh on, which is okay. You can choose to take it off if ever you try this, but I just wanted my meat to be cooked in one good piece without it falling apart. And so I've prepared a bed for it. I have some celery, some garlic, onions, and carrots in here, and that is what my meat is going to sit on. And then I also deglazed my pan with some water, and then I poured it into the pan with the meat and then wrapped it up. So now I'm going to cook my lamb in the oven. It also requires to cook at 350 degrees, and that is how the turkey is cooking, as well as the candied yam. So they're all cooking together. These are Brussels sprouts. I'm just cutting them up, and I'm going to add them in my veggie stir fry. So here is my turkey at 2 hours into the cooking time. It's doing beautifully. I am just trying to get some moisture onto it by applying or pouring some chicken broth onto it, and then I cover again with my aluminum foil. I want it to cook as long as possible before I allow it to just crisp up a little bit. Now let's make the mashed potatoes. Creamy mashed potatoes. So I'm only partially preparing the mashed potatoes, and I'll set it aside after I blend in the butter. And later on, when everything else is done, I'll just warm up my milk and whisk it in here to get the creamy, warm, fresh mashed potatoes. So this is a good way to make it ahead. You could refrigerate, add the butter and the milk later on the next day or whenever you're serving it. And now our candied yam is done too. And I'm just going to apply some of the liquid or the sauce, the candy sauce, on top of it, just from the side to make it a little glossy later on when it's done. And of course, there's no Ghanaian party or celebration without kele wele or no. This is just spice, sweet plantain, yellow plantain with some spices and onion, fried, and then we like to have it with peanuts. So I'm gonna make this, and then yes, it's one of those. It has to be made.
Delicious, yeah, delicious, delicious, yeah, delicious, 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 yeah, delicious. Have you been go? Tasty, delicious.
Just perfectly seasoned, just perfect. I tasted it. The spice is just enough, and I'm going to be frying this outside just because I don't want all the aromas. You know, kelewele is so spicy. So yes, and I have this big wok here. It's going to make everything faster anyway, so everything can go in at one time whilst I keep myself busy doing other things.
Delicious, yeah, delicious, delicious, yeah, delicious.
So now with the very last bit of everything is the stuffing and the vegetable stir fry. So I'm just chopping my garlic, and I'm going to use just a little bit of that in the stuffing, and the rest will go in my veggie stir fry.
Delicious, 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 yeah. Delicious. Can you smell the aroma? Yeah. From Kwachiwa's kitchen. Yeah. Delicious. Yeah. Delicious. Delicious.
So my stuffing is pretty easy. I just have some celery, onion, garlic, and carrots in my pot with a little oil in it. I'm just going to let it sweat up a little bit. I'll add in my craisins or cranberry. I love cranberry in my stuffing. And then my bread, just white bread, plain bread is what I like to use in my stuffing as well. And I'm just going to stir this up, let it cook a little bit, and then you add your broth. I also almost forgot to add my walnuts. My husband was like, walnuts? Because yeah, I always put walnuts in there. So here are my walnuts, and then I'm just going to transfer everything into a baking dish and let it bake. Some people like theirs to be mushy. They like it soft. I like mine to have a little bit of texture. I still want to see pieces of my bread. So this is how I make mine. I'm going to cover with aluminum foil and bake it. Now we are going to just make our vegetable stir fry, and we are almost done with everything at this point. It looks like we are almost, it's almost 4 o'clock, just about 20 more minutes, and hopefully everything else is gonna be done.
Delicious, 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 delicious.
So Nanaba, that is my Onyawa. Nanaba's kitchen just called. She's on her way. She just set off, and so she lives about half hour from me. So I'm hoping that by the time she gets here, everything is gonna be done. And the other ladies from the other families I've already called and let them know that we are almost done. So they should be heading on their way now with the light soup and the jollof. And Nanaba is bringing us some banku and tilapia. I just can't wait to see all the goodies that is going to arrive here.
Delicious. Can you smell the aroma? Yeah. From Kwachiwa's kitchen. Yeah. Delicious. Yeah. Delicious. Delicious. Yeah. Delicious.
the vegetables took less than 10 minutes to cook in real time. It needs just a little bit more salt. I'm just adding a little salt to this, and then my onions. I always like to put my red onions in, like half of it in towards the end or at the very end. That way I have a little pop of color from the onions as well. And the turkey is done. I've brought it out, so is the lamb, and I'm just going to let it rest a little bit, both the turkey and the lamb, before I plate them. Yes, I'm still gonna plate everything because my family still has to sit down at the table and eat with or without everybody else. It is still a special day for us, and so yes, we are going to do that. So anyway, I'm going to be making my gravy. I had to wait till the very end to get the stock from my turkey before I could make it. So I have some onion here now and a little bit of garlic frying in the oil, and I'm going to be adding some flour and my drippings to that to make my gravy. So I'm just going to let this simmer down until it thickens up, and that is how simple gravy is to make. And meanwhile, my husband is setting the table for us outside, just us and our 2 kids. Regardless, it is a special day, so we are going to treat it as such. It's been a rough year. There's a lot to celebrate. There's a lot to pray for and hope for the coming years. Other Thanksgivings that hopefully that it's not going to be like this. We'll be surrounded by people who genuinely love and care for us and be willing to celebrate our success and everything with us. So anyway, I'm using my Martha Stewart pumpkin tureen as my vase this year because it's just the 4 of us. I'm not going to put soup in that this year, and I felt like I really wanted to use it. So I got these flowers from Sam's Club whilst I was there the previous day. Just set it in a bucket of water, and I'm just arranging it now in the vase to be as beautiful as I possibly can have it. Yeah, it's looking good, not too bad if you ask me. So Nanaba just showed up at this point, and she helped bring everything out and set it up. An amazing sister and friend she is. Thank you so much, Onyawa. Thank you so much. And you should wait to see what she brought as well. So here is my cornbread, made the previous day, and we're just cutting through to see how it looks. I didn't get a bite of it or anything, but I just can't wait. It smells so good. The jalapeno in it, oh boy. And everything else set up. Look at that.
Wow. Thank you, Nanaba. Love this.
Thank you, Onyawa. Yes, so Nanaba came with all that package, one for each household. 4 packages she actually brought instead of 3. She got a little bit confused. Can you believe that? This is what we say, somebody did something with love and passion. So please, a round of applause for my dear Onyawa. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope your day was filled with love and the warmth of family, whether right by you or far away over the phone, on Zoom, however you celebrated Thanksgiving and all the other holidays we are going to be celebrating this year. We should be thankful for the gift of life. Many lives have been lost this year. Many jobs have been lost. Many people have been sick. So much has gone on this year. So if we are alive and we have a chance to be thankful, then of course we have to be grateful for the gift of life. Everything else, once we have life, there is always going to be more time for us to have them. Last Thanksgiving, we were only about 10,000 strong, if even. And look, 1 year down the road, here we are with over 200,000 people in this family, Quancho's Kitchen family. That is amazing. And I am super thankful to have each and every one of you. I am thankful that you try these recipes. I am thankful for all the photos, all the messages that I get. I am super thankful, especially even this Thanksgiving, that most of you got to enjoy my recipes with your friends and family. Thank you so much. I can never say that enough.
Delicious, yeah, delicious. Have you been go? Tasty. Delicious. Da, 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 da.
Well, if you're still watching at this point, kindly comment and let me know what you think about how I carved this turkey and lamb. I think I did amazing. Look at that. It was cooked to perfection. See how juicy the lamb turned out to be? That turkey was well seasoned to the bone. As we carved it and we took a bite of it, I was like, what the wow, what a turkey, what a seasoning, what a marinade. This was so
Delicious.
good.
Delicious. Delicious. Can you smell the aroma? Yeah. From Kwachi West Kitchen. Yeah. Delicious, yeah, yeah, delicious, delicious, yeah, yeah, delicious, 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 yeah, yeah, delicious. Delicious, yeah, yeah, delicious, delicious, yeah, yeah, delicious, 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 yeah, yeah, delicious.
And of course, there had to be dessert. This carrot cake, I really hope you are able to try the recipe. I just shared it here on the channel. And the pumpkin cheese, I hope to share it next fall as well. So everything was packaged and everybody came and picked their food. I went to take a shower and came to enjoy the day with my family. We had a good time and we are so grateful for the love and support that we receive here from all of you. Thank you so much for watching, and until I come your way next time with something delicious, be loving, be kind, be happy.